Hey everyone, welcome back to WrestlePop. All right guys, it's the Daily Heat. This is all the quick wrestling news stories we feel like you need to know for the day. To kick things off, we told you yesterday that Charly Caruso is officially out at the WWE and she accepted full-time work at ESPN. And there's been a lot of speculation because there were some reports that she had a lot of backstage heat, but now she has given an interview and said that nothing bad happened, nothing went wrong, it's just that her contract was coming up and ESPN made her an offer she could not refuse. As you guys know, the Bella Twins are being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year as part of the class of 2020. So they recently talked about this on their podcast and they were saying how they were writing their acceptance speeches and they had about a 15-minute long speech because they really needed to look back on their career and thank everyone and really flesh out everything. And then a bombshell was dropped on them. They were going to have to pare it down to around 3 to 5 minutes. And they were talking about how it's so difficult to do that because they have so many people to thank and such a long career to go over. And so they really had to think long and hard about how to pare everything down and be able to fit it all in. But let's be real, guys. How long does it really take to thank John Cena? Recently, Steve Austin did an interview and he was asked if he would ever bring back his weekly podcast. And he said, no, it's probably never going to come back because he's just so busy doing all of his other projects. As you guys know, he accepted the Broken Skull sessions that was offered to him on WWE Network. So he's been busy doing that and a little bit of other things. And if you guys have never heard his podcast, it kind of seems like over the past couple of years, he'd really kind of checked out of it. He stopped having guests on there, and when he did have a guest, it was just his handyman and they would just kind of talk about nothing. So I think maybe it's best to just let the sleeping dog lie. Speaking of Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan was recently asked why fans never saw the dream match between Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin, and Hulk of course had his usual BS answer, but the way he envisioned the match going down was pretty interesting. Hulk says the way that he envisioned it is that he would be the world champion and Steve would just chase after him, which you know what that means, guys. Hulk would win the first match, and then when it came time to put over Steve and have him win the title, Hulk would pull his usual BS about saying, well, that doesn't work for me, brother, and then he'd try to weasel out of a rematch. If you guys don't know, Stone Cold was very leery of Hulk Hogan back in the day because he knew that he was a master politician, so he really didn't want to work with him whenever he returned to the WWE. You gotta give Hulk Hogan credit though, he never stops working. The guy loves to rewrite history. Beth Phoenix recently did an interview where she talked about her time when she first started out in wrestling, and she said that on the indie scene, she didn't wear makeup at all or really even care about her looks. She didn't invest any time or effort into her hair or her overall appearance, and she said when she went to the WWE, which was right around the time of the Divas era, she realized how important those things were, and so she started putting a lot more effort into her appearance, wearing makeup, doing her hair and all that stuff. And it's very interesting because if you notice, the women's roster, they love to talk about being professional athletes and they want to be taken seriously, but especially in the last 2-3 years, even in the last year, it's especially ramped up that all of the women are focusing very heavily on their looks. They're investing a lot of time and money into getting cosmetic procedures like breast implants, lip fillers, Botox injections, and all that stuff. So even though they don't want to be called divas, they certainly seem to be heading that way. When you look at their ring gear, a lot of them really amount to basically just a jazzed up bra and panties, which is perfectly fine, and I'm sure it draws in the male viewers as well. But they're also spending a lot of effort on their look. They're trying to one-up themselves, and you see especially a lot of the women have changing faces. You look at them a couple years ago and they look entirely different to what they look like now, all thanks to very heavy makeup and a lot of cosmetic procedures, at least in my opinion. Take someone like Dana Brooke, who has completely changed her look, as well as Charlotte. Take someone like Shayna Baszler, whose whole gimmick is not really to be a girly girl, but you look up close at her and she is wearing a ton of makeup, so she's clearly trying to at least look presentable on TV, even if that's not really her gimmick. I'm sure there's immense pressure on these women to look perfect for TV. No one wants to appear on television and look their worst. first, right? If you guys don't know, there's actually makeup that these women can wear that is very sweat-proof, very transfer resistant, and can pretty much withstand their 20-minute long wrestling matches and still have them looking good. Sometimes we've even seen the women lose some of their extensions while they're wrestling. You can tell these women put a lot of effort into their looks, so as much as they don't want to go back to the Divas era, that's pretty much where we're headed. It's only a matter of time until all the women on the roster are just walking, talking dolls. Next up, William Regal revealed in an interview that back in the day, he was such a big believer in Sasha Banks that he even went so far as to put his own job on the line. The way he tells it is that the higher-ups really weren't too big on getting Sasha on, and he told them, hey, I believe in her so much that if she doesn't work out, you can just fire me. Talk about somebody really believing in you. Thank goodness that bet paid off for him. It looks like Taya Valkyrie might be making her NXT debut soon. They've been having a lot of vignettes featuring her, and now recently they've had some vignettes featuring a dog, which appears to be her dog, running up to a woman in boots, which you don't see the woman, but it says that Frankie is coming soon. Now, WWE did file a trademark for the name Frankie Monet, and everyone is kind of wondering, are they gonna use that name for her dog, which that's not the dog's actual name, or is that gonna be her new ring name? If so, kind of a strange thing since her actual name that she's using now is pretty bad. If you guys don't know, Buddy Murphy and Alexa Bliss used to be engaged, but they broke up, and now Alexa has been dating and is recently engaged to Ryan Cabrera, the singer. If you guys want to know more about their relationship, check out our archives. We have a whole video dedicated to their relationship, but Alexa Bliss recently revealed that anytime she posts a photo to social media of her working out or in the gym, Buddy Murphy actually still messages her each time just to ask if she's really doing it or just doing it for the gram. And so it sounds like he hasn't given up hope on them reconciling. This should be interesting to see what happens. They did make a cute couple, so maybe the door is still open. Stephanie McMahon recently gave an interview where she talked about listening to fan feedback, and she said that the WWE network really cares about that, and that's why they're always jumping onto every new social media, because they always want to know what's happening with the fans, what's trending, what they're into and what they're not. And she said that that's precisely why the women's revolution is happening right now, because the fans demanded it. Now, wouldn't it be great if they actually listened to the fans about the crappy storylines? Stephanie, talk to dear old dad about that, please. AEW star Tay Conti recently took to social media to celebrate 4 years in the wrestling business. Now I just wonder if she'll be celebrating when she finally figures out what the hell she's doing in the ring. And also guys, that Tony Khan, isn't he a generous guy? On a recent episode of his podcast, Bruce Pritchard commented on who would be the biggest star to children, Hulk Hogan or John Cena, and of course he gave a BS answer talking about, well, they're two completely different generations, both of them were great in their own way, yada yada yada. But let's face it guys, if you were a child of the 80s, Hulk Hogan was the man. He was the biggest. No one else was going to be bigger than him. Not The Rock, not Stone Cold. Hogan was the man. So you gotta love Bruce Pritchard just bullshitting us. Alright guys, could there be a new faction in the future? Carmella recently said that she would love to do an all-women's version of the New Day, and she would love to do it with Bayley, Billie Kay, and herself, and she also has a name for it, Bay K Mella, which sounds like a hot dumpster fire, but what do you guys think? Could she pull it off, or is she just latching onto the star that is Billie Kay? Batista recently went on Twitter and said what we are all thinking, and that is, why on earth would you break up the Hurt Business already? It is way too soon. So Vince, please put them back together while there is still time. Edge recently did an interview and he was asked about Christian jumping over to AEW, and Edge had some interesting answers. He said that he thinks that Christian is a bonehead for ever going over there, and that Christian will live to regret ever going there because it will be the biggest mistake of his life. Nah, just kidding, guys. What else is he supposed to say? Of course, he said that he supports him and he loves him and this is a great deal for him and all the usual stuff, because what else is he gonna do? He's gotta give the PC answer. Alright guys, could this spell the end of Young Rock? The most recent episode scored only 2.5 million viewers overnight compared to the previous week where it scored 2.8. Over the past 4 weeks, it has been steadily declining each week. Now it has had some ups and downs. It debuted with 5 million viewers before dropping below 2 million the next week and then climbing back up and then back down. But this is the 4th week of down down numbers, so who knows what's going to happen? Is there going to be a second season? Do you guys even like the show? Let us know in the comment section down below. Eric Bischoff recently gave an interview and he talked about the smartest guy in wrestling that he's ever met, and his answer was really interesting. He says that in Ohio one night they were there to do some promotion and he got to talking to this guy and had a very long conversation about history and politics and books, and he came away from it thinking that this guy was extremely well read and very intelligent, and that guy is none other than the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Kane. Who would have thought, right? Now, we've been telling you about this next thing for quite a while now, and it is WWE Network and Peacock editing out all of the good stuff. And that most recent thing is a segment from Raw in 1998 where DX spoofed the Nation of Domination. Like we keep telling you guys, little by little, they keep deleting the Attitude Era until there will be not a thing left of it. And for our last story today, we have one on Andrade. Now, we previously did a pretty in-depth report on all of his recent drama, so definitely check that out in our archives. But now he is saying that he is fielding many talks with many different companies and that he doesn't really want to commit to any of them because he wants the freedom to wrestle wherever he wants, both in the US and outside. And he also says he doesn't know if he's going to wear a mask or not because a lot of people know him worldwide without the mask. But here's what we really want to know. When is he going to go on Chris Jericho's podcast and spill all of the dirty secrets about Charlotte? Because let's face it, guys, this guy can't seem to stop talking about Charlotte and just airing all of her dirty laundry out. Because listen, what else is he known for other than being Mr. Charlotte Flair? And that, guys, is the Daily Heat. Let us know what you thought of these stories down below. Alright guys, that's the video. If you like what we're doing here, definitely check out our other channel, 5 Minute Eats, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.